that had been executed from ancestors, and so the generations down the line are a bit more set up already, like in a very favorable position financially to succeed. And it kind of makes me think of like privilege a lot, because when I think about stuff like gentrification or people with privilege or in a more privileged position in like the current society as it is right now, I think of this idea that they probably had this generational wealth.
This campaign to create awareness to generational wealth is brought to you by the Department of Neighborhood's Generational Wealth Initiative, the Washington Housing Finance Commission, and Rainier Avenue Radio World.
Hello, I'm Tony Young, and every week I will be your guide to the music of the Fab Four with my show With the Beatles. John Lennon, Paul McCartney, George Harrison, and Ringo Starr, those four lads from Liverpool. First airings are Tuesday night from 7 to 9 p.m. with repeats on Thursdays and Saturdays from 8 to 10 a.m. right here on Rainier Avenue Radio. Tune in to catch Beatlemania.
This is Brenda Charles Edwards, host of Seniors Matter. Join me every week to get information on activities and issues that impact the lives of older adults and their families. That's Seniors Matter every week on Rainier Avenue Radio.
We must all remain committed to slow the spread of coronavirus, taking care of ourselves and not putting others in harm's way, especially those already at high risk of getting seriously ill, including people over 65 or those with underlying medical conditions. If you must be out, avoid crowded areas, stay 6 feet or 2 arm lengths away from others, and wear a face covering. Wash hands frequently with soap and water for 20 seconds, especially after being in public spaces. Avoid touching your face, cough or sneeze in a tissue, then throw it away. Disinfect frequently touched objects. And if you have symptoms of fever, dry cough, and shortness of breath, call your healthcare provider before going to their office. Slowing coronavirus means taking care of ourselves while also protecting others. Even if you're not at high risk, these steps should be taken to help slow the spread of coronavirus. We are all in this together.
Rainier Avenue Radio, Seattle's best music, talk, and sports.
Hey. Oh my goodness. I could not be more excited. Today, I get to be partnered with a friend. Hello.
Hi there, Tracy. So great to be here.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, I know. This is going to be fun. And what I think I love most about this is you and I get to actually talk about resurrecting your resolutions. Is that exciting or what? Right? Resurrecting your resolutions. How cool.
That is very cool. It's just the right time too, right?
I think for me, what I love most about the timing is results are guaranteed, right? Because we're saying resurrect. We're 1 week and a day away from Resurrection Sunday. And what I love about this concept is that we are in a position where whether you believe in spiritual milestones like Resurrection Sunday, or if you're 100% focused on the science behind transformation, the concept, most people understand what it means to resurrect something. It was dead and it has come back to life, right? And so what we're getting people excited about right now is come back to life. Like, this is your opportunity to bring those resolutions, those dreams back to life.
I agree. That's very exciting. You know, people go through a little phase, right? We set resolutions and are so excited in January. and then something happens, and we'll talk a little bit about that. And then we kind of distance ourselves from it because it didn't quite work out. But there are real reasons why they don't work out. And there are some very easy solutions. So yes, I'm so excited to be here with you to talk about that, Traci.
And I like that you said easy, but I think we could say they're very simple solutions. If they were easy, everyone would be doing them. But they're definitely simple. And we're going to make it easy because this is called the Better Together Empowerment Series and the Living Powerfully experience. We call it Better Together and Living Powerfully, but it's better because when you do anything like this, when you do it together, it becomes easy, right? It's like you're 500% more likely to complete a task like resolutions, desires of your heart, dreams that you want to make a reality. You're 500% more likely to complete those tasks, those goals, those resolutions when you do it in community. That's really one of the key elements that I love most about positive intelligence and really everything we do.
Agreed. Everything is so much easier when you have support. And I think that's what you're referring to. Community. Reach
community.
Out. Get a partner.
And then let's think of my 3 A's, my favorite A words. We talk about awareness, action, and accountability. So when you're doing something in community and you're like, hey, you and I, you ask me, what am I going to do toward my goal, toward my resolution? And we give you a space to talk about it right here. And when you talk about what your resolutions are, that's number 1, right? When you talk about them, when you can visualize them coming true, there's something truly magical that happens, right? Your brain is like, okay, I see you. It's like, I see you showing up. I see what you want to accomplish. Let me help you. Let me help you to do that. And then the universe conspires for you. That's really kind of number 1, right? If we say resurrecting your resolutions, we're basically saying 85 to 90% of Americans who make resolutions by this first quarter, first 3 months, they would say that they're not where they would like to be. Like that's, there's different metrics, but it's pretty high, right? Of people not being in a place where they would want to be. And so we get to talk about how do we help people to get there. And I know you wanted to talk a little bit about the why. Like, let me go here real quick. You wanted to share a little bit about why do resolutions? Why do most New Year's resolutions, why do they fail?
Yeah, Traci, absolutely. Why do they fail? It's a big question. We get so excited in January or on December. We're excited for the new year, the changes that are coming, the changes that we are going to bring. And then, like you say, when we get into February or March, we're kind of distance ourselves. The awareness is gone. The goal, the resolution doesn't feel so real anymore, or so alive. And the reason, and this happens time after time, the reason is that we are relying on insight, right? We have that awareness, but there is another part of it. There are 2 things actually that are missing. We need to have a little bit of mental fitness to bring that alive and to keep it alive. And we can talk about how you create that. And then the second thing is to keep that resolution alive day after day. And how do you do that? You do that, resolutions are often big things, right? Because we're so excited to make changes in our lives and we want to create a transformation. And we think, if we just have the resolution, if we just have the insight, like that's what the change that I want, it's going to happen. But unfortunately, that isn't the case. What we need is some mental fitness. And I think that's what you were hinting at is what allows us to bring that, keep our resolutions alive and help us make those changes.
I love it. That's definitely a big, huge part of why they failed, or really what we can do to help them to succeed. Let's talk a little bit more about the why they fail. Let's go back to that a little bit. Tell me what your thoughts are. There's several books about why, like starting with why, right? So when people focus on what they want to accomplish, but they're not really understanding or really focusing on the why, that can also lead to failure, right? Knowing why you want to achieve something, that's where that fuel in your tank is happening in the early morning. If you're like, I want to work out, and you're like, it's cold and I don't really feel like it, then you're like, oh, I know, I actually want to live. I want to live so that my young folk, right, who are in my life, that I have more energy for them, right? I've been told by my doctor that there's, medical things like your why becomes the energy that says it's going to be the thing that helps you to achieve in a way that to take those steps, right, in a way that maybe the what you're trying to accomplish doesn't give you the same energy. So have you found that the why is often missing when people?
Absolutely. The why, you really have to understand why this is important. What difference will it make? Where is that passion that's going to drive you through those difficult times when, you like you said, you have to get up in the morning and it's cold or it's snowing and I don't want to get out there today. But of course, in order to get to the end of that journey, we do need to take those steps. And so the why is the passion. Like, get really clear about why this is important to you. How will that change your life? Like, what is on the other side of it? So get clear with the benefits, how that's going to change your life. How is it going to change the lives of other people in your life? Because often we get some motivation from those others because they're so important to us, right? Mm-hmm. And perhaps the third thing would be, if you achieve this resolution or transformation that you're seeking, how is that going to change the circumstances in your life? Like, what's going to happen? What's going to be different? Get really clear and get a clear picture in your mind of what that will mean for you.
I love it. I love it so much. Now, Miss Karima, I wanted to get really started with some high energy clarifications on what we're going to be doing. But now I want to just pause and take a moment and have you introduce yourself and tell us about your why. Who are you and why do you do this work?
Oh, Traci, thanks so much. I have been on my own journey, of course. And my name is Karima Budhwani, and I'm a mental fitness, leadership, and life coach. Living just outside of Vancouver, British Columbia. I am just really passionate about working with, I work mostly with women, but other family members as well. I'm just passionate about, getting this, so many of us sort of end up absorbing this imposter syndrome. Oh, what do I know? How can I have this expertise? And when in fact we have all the expertise in the world because we are, so trained, we have lots of education, we have life skills. And so we have that experience and we have the knowledge. And so we somehow end up with this imposter syndrome. Oh, I couldn't possibly. And what I want to do is I want to work with women and say, hey, you are the expert in your life. Yes, you can do this. And you have the capacity. And let's get really clear and let's eradicate that imposter syndrome. Let's get empowered in your life and let's start accomplishing those goals that you can and that you dream to. That's the kind of work I like to do.
I love it. I love it. Now you just said some good stuff there. You said some things that I want to make sure we don't just miss, right? I like to pause and make sure we're clear. You used another one of my favorite terms. You talked about clarity. The why is important, but also like being clear, like having that specificity. Stay with me. Being very specific. Being very, very specific about what you want to accomplish. Not just saying I want to, exercise more. I want to eat healthier, but I'm going to wake up in the morning. I'm going to choose A and I'm going to choose B, right? Like I'm going to have oatmeal and water and fruit. I'm going to have whatever it is, right? I'm going to exercise 3 times, like putting new numbers around it, have these SMART goals, but being very specific about, not just the why, because that's important. But then you do want to be clear on like, what exactly is this goal? And then actually visualizing it, being very, very clear. That's why oftentimes people want to lose weight and they say, I'm going to lose 100 pounds this year. How are you going to do that? Why is that important to you, right? And what specifically are you going to do? So we're talking about why you may have failed. I promise you we're going to get into specifics about what you can do differently. But it is important to say, why might we be here? Because we're all here, right? We've all had this experience.
Absolutely. We need to get clear why we're here and why. And again, I think I hinted at it just at the start. And that's, take, for example, you want to run a 10K race. The first day you're not going to get out there and start running, right? Because you're not physically fit to be able to do that. So what we need to do is there's a parallel, right? We have to look at your mental capacity to stay with your goal. That's what mental fitness allows us to do. It helps us stay with our goal. It helps us command our mind to stay and consistent, keep that goal in front of us and take steps towards it every day. I think that's what you were alluding to as to, why are we here is because we may not have that other element that we need, the mental fitness. It's not just insight, but we need the action beside it to bring us to our goal.
We absolutely do. And even before you start the actions, it's so important that we're clear on the vision. Like, what do we want to accomplish? So the why is important, what you're going to do, being very specific about what that looks like. And then we are going to talk about this importance of mental fitness for sure. But have you ever worked with someone, again, we're both coaches and consultants and trainers. Have you ever worked with someone who's just not truly ready for change? Right. We may make a resolution and we say we want to do it, but like I've talked about losing weight for so long, it's almost like, okay, I'm going to burn the boats. Have you heard of that term?
Yes. Yes.
I'm burning the boats. Like, I'm going this way. Like, I've said the things, I've done the things. But when it comes to actually being ready to do what we know is important, exercising, right? Our mental fitness, building those mental fitness muscles, creating new neural pathways and new habits, that's a different kind of ready, right? It's a different readiness that happens when you're saying, I'm not just ready to talk about it. I'm actually ready to create new habits, right? And that's why we're going to talk a little bit about the what. So oftentimes they fail because we're really not ready. We're really not ready for change. We kind of want the thing, but we're not really ready. We're not mentally prepared, right? To stick with it, to be, and I'll use my other C word, not just clarity, but go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, I think what you're alluding to is that, you're right. There is this whole business of a tradition. Every year people make resolutions. So we make resolutions. And are we really in touch with what that means? And if you're not, if you're just making a resolution because, that's the thing you've always done, then that's not going to really set you up for, success. Not only will you not be mentally prepared, but even, you won't have the physical stuff ready. So for example, when I want to start exercising, I need to get things ready. So my brain has to start to understand I'm actually getting ready for this transformation. So I might make sure that I have the right runners. I might make sure that I have the right gear to get out and run in the rain. I think that's what you're alluding to, is that we're not ready in so many ways. I mean, that is another aspect of getting ready.
Yes, I love it. I love it. And so, yes, so being ready is a mental, but it's also like a physical aspect, right? So people not being ready is this idea of we get to choose to show up. I actually talk about choosing me, choosing you, like choosing who you are, deciding that not only not only am I going to be clear about what I want, right? Not only am I going to decide on my whys and put that in the forefront of my mind, but then it's like, I'm going to be consistent. I'm not just going to say it on December, the end of the year, January 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, but I'm actually willing to be consistent. I think many New Year's resolutions fail. Again, we're just kind of being realistic here. Why do they fail? Because we're not being consistent. Let's talk a little bit about that other C word, consistency, actually showing up, being consistent, because that's really a part of our mental fitness work as well.
Yeah, consistency. Consistency can come in many different ways. And one of the things that we need to have consistency about is we might think that we need to have the big goals. Like maybe the first day we have to go and do, 10 blocks. That means consistency. But in fact, if you could just take even 5 steps every day, and then the next day build on it. So one aspect of building towards your goal is to allow yourself to take the time to build it up so that all parts of you catch up. So the first day, for example, if I want to run that 10K, I may just break it down and just put my shoes on that first day. That's it may seem ridiculous, but that's the first step, right? Breaking it down to a small little bit that I can do today, and then continue to build on it every day. And before you know it, the month is out and I'm running to the end of the block. That's the consistency. We need to show up a little bit every day.
True. And I have to admit this. So, when you look up, why New Year's resolutions fail, this is a very, very common conversation, right? None of this, we're not telling people things that they don't know, but what we are going to take them to is we're going to provide you with insights that are guaranteed to work. They're spiritual and they're scientific. So this concept of the word that I saw, which I don't use personally a lot, but I loved it. It was this concept of zeal. So we talked about being clear, having vision, knowing our whys, being consistent. And then you just talked about, getting excited. So when you think about being consistent, for me, it's not gonna be enough for me to put my shoes on, right? But you're right. You could celebrate every step of the way. I'm gonna put my shoes on. Yes. I'm gonna walk outside. Yes. And if the weather isn't great, me walking outside is a big deal, right? Because I'm like, I don't do bad weather. But then like the next thing, whatever the things are that you can do, celebrate any of the steps and every step along the way. Like, yes, shoes are on. Yes, right. Whatever it is. So being, I think, clear, like the zeal, the excitement, you create it. So like, I think that's another thing, like that energy around the New Year's resolutions, the excitement and the energy oftentimes fails. And so we are looking for externally when the reminder is we have to bring that. We have to actually bring that in. Let's talk a little bit about that as well.
Yeah. So, one way to sort of think about that is that our brain looks for, gets a reward, right? When you celebrate, there's a chemical that is released that brings that passion. And that really does help your brain the next day when we want to do this again. It makes it easier because it is starting to notice that reward that it gets. It feels good. And I think that's the zeal. That's the passion.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. And we went through, you and I went through the positive intelligence mastery program. Like, we're not just showing up for ourselves. We're doing this in community so that we can show up for community. We want to show up with recommendations that we know work, that we can say, here's what I did. Like, I've lost 30 some pounds, not really trying to per se, but just showing up differently. And it's so beautiful. It's like, it's effortless almost once you actually do these things. And so the reason I wanted to start with why do most New Year's resolutions fail, right? I want to just kind of start there, is because why they fail is really, if you think about the inverse of why they fail, is really part of what we want to talk about as it relates to how do you resurrect those resolutions? How do you resurrect them? So did you have any ideals? Some people don't want to use the term resolutions, but did you have any ideals or dreams or things that you wanted to, or want to, I'll put it in present tense, that you want to and plan to accomplish this year, Karima? Let's talk about that real quick.
Well, actually, I have been talking about it. One of the things that I really wanted to get consistent about was my well-being. And oftentimes I get busy and I'm not paying enough attention to myself. I'm not getting myself out there, getting exercise, being out in the fresh air, enjoying the parks around here. I live in a beautiful part of the world, and it's a shame not to be able to enjoy that. And also, spend a lot of time with my kids. That is something that I really wanted to make sure I built into my life this year. And yes, I did start at the start of the year with a very small goal. A few times my goal was just to get out the front door. And then I realized maybe even just putting my running shoes on was success and a celebration. And yeah, I know it sounds ridiculous, but I made it so small that I could do it and celebrate it, and then know that I was successful, and I'm going to come back the next day. That's what helps us build that momentum, is little bits of success. You do it for for like 2 minutes or 1 minute, and then you succeeded, right? Because that's what your brain understands. I was successful.
I was successful. Right. And you're basically creating new neural pathways. So if we had to say, how do you resurrect your resolutions? First thing is a vision, right? We have to visualize what success looks like. That may be coupled with your why, right? You have children. How old are your kids?
My kids are 14. Yeah.
So I bet they're pretty active.
They're super active. They're into sports, so it's great. They are my partners in getting out there. Yeah.
I love it. And what people don't know about you, you're in Canada, correct?
Correct. I'm in British Columbia.
British Columbia. And what people don't know about you, and I fell in love with you and my other partner, Deborah, in the PQ Mastery space. But you were born in South Africa, is that right?
No, East Africa.
South Africa?
East Africa.
East Africa.
East Africa. Yes.
Where exactly were you born?
So I was born in a small town in Kenya, Kisumu.
Okay.
And then lived in Nairobi. And then lo and behold, shocks to the system, moved to Canada, and in one of the coldest winters at that time. Yeah.
Right. So you went from Africa. What was the average temperature in Africa?
Oh, I don't know what it was then. It used to be warm. It's warm, right?
Warm.
We have rainy seasons,
right.
But it's like our hot summers here. That's kind of normal, right, over there. So it's warm, and then to come to a community where there was a lot of snow, and we moved to Calgary. Cold.
Wow.
Yeah,
very cold.
You get 35 below.
I love it. So what I love about you is there's lots of diversity, right, in the work that you do. So we do have a whole international panel of people that are part of this Living Powerfully experience, right? We have people in the UK and people that are in India and people that are like in Paris. So it's very exciting to be in Ireland, Dublin, I think she is. So we definitely are excited to be able to bring the diverse voices into this conversation, because we want people to know this is culturally relevant no matter who you are. Like if you're human and you have a brain, we're talking about neuroscience. We're talking about positive psychology, cognitive behavioral psychology, and performance science. So when we say now is the time to resurrect your resolutions, first we got to understand, like, why were they failing? And then do the opposite. Do the opposite of whatever we have been doing that didn't work. Now we're going to talk a little bit deeper about what we can do to truly drive change. And I know you had a little, you had a couple of things you wanted to to talk about, let me see.
Let me just pick up on something you said, Tracy, and you mentioned that this is relevant to all different communities. In fact, this work and this research has been tested all over the world by Shirzad Chamine, who did all the original research, and found to be relevant regardless of where you live in the world. So it's not, there is no cultural biases. It's relevant for everybody.
And I love it so much because it is not only relevant for young people, like we're working with people that are actually 17, 16.
And
we're
90.
also working, I was going to say, and 90. So we're like at all the extremes at 50 and 40 and 30 and 20. Like it's for everyone. And I think what's exciting is young people are stressed out. And so when we think about some of the benefits that come with this program, it's about increasing your performance. And that's performance in school because it's helping you to self-manage. It's performance at work, right? It's performance in your home. So really, it is about increasing your performance, but it's also increasing your well-being. It's about minimizing your stress, increasing your happiness, building your confidence. Who doesn't want to need that, right? And then I call this a living powerfully experience with positive intelligence and something that I call transformational inclusive leadership. And what I loved about positive intelligence is it's so foundational. It's just like it applies to everything. So performance, well-being, and relationships.
Yes, I was going to say relationships is key.
Yes, relationships at work, at school, at home. So let's work backwards and talk about relationships. How and why is it so important that as we think about resurrecting our resolutions, that we also think about for the people that in our lives? Like I have relatives that are overweight, right? More overweight than I am, if you can believe that, right? And friends that are, and we're like all on this journey together. We're like, let's go, like let's do this work together. And I think there's something so powerful about if I can do it, you can do it too. And like I want it for you almost more than I want it for myself, right? So resolutions and relationships are so connected.
Yes, and the one, there's different aspects of relationships, right? The first primary relationship is, of course, with myself, with yourself, with ourselves. And that's the place where we really need to have a lot of empathy for ourselves. And this program just teaches us that. It's the empathy, no judgment, right? We are where we are. We can't change the past. What we can do is be in the present moment and appreciate ourselves and all of that we've gone through. From that place of empathy, we can step out into the world without judgment and say, this is where I've been, this is where I am today, and now I have a different goal that I'm working towards. That's the resolution. And that empathy helps us navigate that path forward with so much ease and flow, right?
Yes.
Empathy really plays a big part of the relationship dynamic.
Yes, I love that so much. Empathy is actually one of the first things we do with positive intelligence is as coaches, we actually take people through a assessment, and then we help them to understand the same. Actually, one of those superpowers. So once you identify, here's why I may not have shown up. And I think it's important as we kind of close out on the why might people not succeeded. Oh, we actually have a break coming up. I hear music.
Yes, I'm picking it up too.
I'm sorry. Thank you. Sorry, Daniel. We have a producer who was getting all excited. Sorry about that, Daniel. We are live, y'all. We're live on Rainier Avenue Radio, and we're going into our very first break, and we'll be right back. Thank you.
All right.
Would you like to see when your favorite Rainier Avenue Radio show comes on? Check out our show schedule, updated weekly at rainieravenueradio.world. We need your help finding community members to help shape the future of your utilities and the environment. we have two exciting opportunities for the public to work with Seattle Public Utilities, the Customer Review Panel, CRP, and the Solid Waste Advisory Committee, SWAC. CRP and SWAC are looking for new members to contribute expertise and passion to help improve utility services and advance our commitment to environmental stewardship and social justice. Applications can be found at seattle.gov/utilities/community-advisory-recruitment. Hey, can you run that back? Applications can be found at seattle.gov/utilities/community-advisory-recruitment. Thank you. Application deadline for both opportunities is Tuesday, April 23rd.
Hello, listener. What's important to you about what's going on in your community? Are you interested? Are you concerned? In any case, I invite you to tune into my show, Seattle Here and Now, on Rainier Avenue Radio App. Why? I will be covering a wide range of topics important to you and impacting the community. Each show will have a special guest or guests to share with you information on a variety of subjects that are happening here and now in Seattle. I promise I will work hard to make my show informative, interesting, and entertaining. Be sure to listen to Seattle Here and Now on Rainier Avenue Radio World.
Do you have an idea for a community project in your neighborhood? You could be eligible for up to $50,000 in funding through the City of Seattle's Neighborhood Matching Fund. Grants are awarded to grassroots projects that build stronger communities, with an emphasis on projects led by impacting Black, Indigenous, and people of color BIPOC communities. To learn more about the Neighborhood Matching Fund or to see if your project meets the criteria, visit seattle.gov/neighborhoods/NMF.
Mga kaibigan, ito po si Kuya Bert Kawili.
And this is Miles Salvador from Australia.
And I'm Norb Kawili, also known as Norbcam.
Kung gusto niyo po ang latest news and events from the Philippines at yung local Filipino community, Phil-Am Radio po.
We play Filipino music and interview guests from all around the world.
And I'll keep you updated on the latest Seahawks and sports news.
Kaya always tune in Phil-Am Radio every Tuesday, 1 to 2:30 p.m. Pacific Time on Rainier Avenue Radio World.
And in YouTube and Facebook. Salamat po.
Hey Seattle, here are some storage tips to love food, stop waste. Onions make potatoes sprout faster. Keep onions away from potatoes. Ripe bananas give off a gas that makes the fruit around them ripen faster. Store bananas away from other fruits. 40% of food in the U.S. goes uneaten. Save money, save food, save the planet. Visit Seattle Public Utilities for more tips.
This is Paul Pearson, host of Star Time. And when I'm not explaining to my intern exactly what R&B is, I'm listening to Rainier Avenue Radio World.
Ooh, I love this. This is so good. Now, what I love about you, Karima, are three things. First of all, you are authentic. Just like me, you show up in community and you want to serve. We're like, hey, this is a conversation we should be having right now. We're still early enough in the year to help people resurrect their resolutions, right? We're early enough to do that. So we've been talking about like why resolutions don't work. Right? Why resolutions often fail, and the opposite of that, the inverse is what we can do to help them to succeed. Now, if I had to ask you, what would you say, Karima, to someone who has started and not succeeded? I know one of the things you asked me earlier was like helping people to be clear, like asking this question about, I think you said like, what outcome do you want? Like by this time next year, what do you want? So kind of back to the visioning. Tell me about that.
Yeah, we want to get really clear about what it is that we are trying to get to. And then you can start working back from that. But we need to have a vision, and not just vision, but we need to have a passion. Like we need to get committed to that. And sometimes we think we need to have the commitment first. I think you can have the vision, and then as long as you have the passion towards it, the commitment will come. And by doing those little steps every day, the consistency. So getting back to you, your question is, what do we need? Yes, we need clarity. Be really clear. I want to lose 20 pounds, or I want to run that 10K 3 months from now or 5 months from now. So really clear what it is that you're working towards.
I love it. So if we had to be brutal to someone who's like, you know what, this just never works for me. It just doesn't work for me. And they've kind of given up on themselves. The concept of resurrecting is saying, hey, no. If one man or woman can do a thing, then you too can do it too. So I think this reminder, we said in our little promo for today, we said, resurrect your resolutions. It's guaranteed to work. Results are guaranteed to work if you work it. So what would you say to someone who's just like, it never works for me, I can't do this? What would you say? We're going to provide some more specifics on the how, but what would you say to just get that person excited again about the opportunity?
So here's a couple of things I would say. There's two main takeaways from today. And one of them I have referred to already. It's that business of building some mental fitness and self-command. But even before we get there, I want to point out that little voice that is saying, you can't do it, I never do it, that's an inner critic. Every time that voice comes up, I want you to set it aside and say, aha, that's a lie, because Traci, who has that resolution or goal, is so powerful, she can accomplish that. That's the real Traci. And that's the Traci we want to work with. We want to make sure that Traci comes to the fore every day. So that inner voice that says, no, you can't do it. No, we want to call that a lie and set it aside and focus on that voice that says, yes, that's my resolution. I'm really clear. I want to do it.
Okay, so we're gonna.
This is my goal.
I love that so much. So we're gonna stay here for a second, Karima, because what makes positive intelligence unique is the fact that we typically start when we're coaching people. Again, you can go to positiveintelligence.com, reach out to either Karima and I. We're gonna both put our information here in the chat. But basically, we start with something called the saboteur assessment. And you're assessing those saboteurs, those voices, those habits that show up for you. And they're often things that you would have started, right, as a child, right, that have influenced you in various ways. Sometimes they're, right, but in other ways, right, when they're overdone, they actually prevent you from having your maximum performance, your maximum well-being, and your best relationships. So what she just described are saboteurs. So what we do is when these saboteurs show up, because I think you can't talk about resurrecting a resolution and a PQ conversation without saying there are saboteurs. And when they show up, I'm going to have Karima help us to talk through what a PQ rep is, or a positive intelligence quotient is what PQ stands for, right? There's a measure of how much time your brain is working for you versus against you. But we actually have a practice that says when that voice comes up, which it will, just so we're clear, like the voices will come. So when we think about resurrecting your resolutions, the biggest thing that you can do differently is recognize that those saboteurs, they're part of who you are. And it's okay, no judgment, right? When they show up, we're going to do some things differently. So I'm going to have Karima talk a little bit about this concept of how do we silence our saboteurs?
So, the first step is when when that inner critic shows up, as you said, saboteur, if it takes power over you, if you give it a lot of attention, it is going to sabotage you. That voice will sabotage you. So what you want to do is to set it aside. Notice it, call it the lie that it is, and set it aside. And then this is the other second step, is to shift your attention to the physical sensations in your body. So for example, just focusing on my breathing. I do this a lot. This is the one that really works for me. is just noticing my breathing and noticing as I take in deep breaths, I notice the rising and the falling of my stomach or my chest. And that centers me. That brings me in touch with that inner power that I have to command, to set aside the saboteur and to strengthen the self-command muscle. As you know, that is the PQ language. We are wanting to strengthen our self-command, which is to say, this is my goal, this is what I want to focus on, and this is how I want to move forward. So that this simple exercise, just by doing it for 10 seconds, a number of times during the day, will strengthen your mental fitness. And that is a key part of helping you succeed in your in keeping your resolutions and getting that transformation that you need. And there's another little bit that we're going to come to, I know, Traci, when we talk about it a little bit further.
So what I love about that is we're not just talking about this generically. We're saying when those saboteurs, when those thoughts, like our brain can either work for us or against you. So when those thoughts come up, right, whether it's, whatever it is, and we all have different ones, right? There's the hyperachiever, there's the controller, there's the pleaser, there's the avoider. Some people said, and we had a guy on a couple of weeks ago, and he was like, I really can't really do my own thing because I'm so busy helping other people. Pleaser is one of my top saboteurs as well. So when you're in this self-sacrificial martyrdom role, right, that you can't take care of your own health because you're too busy helping other people, right? That's when you get to say no, no, right? I can choose something different. And so when you have a plan and you decide, first of all, when you do the saboteur assessment, which is what a coach is designed to help you part of the work is you seeing this and seeing it and no judgment, but saying nope, bam, like it's an immediate shift. And then that's why the recommendation is that you get a coach, one of the PQ coaches like Karima or I. She's going to put her information in the chat here. I'll do the same. But like we're here to support you in the journey. And once you've done it with the level of consistency, helping you to look from the outside in, it becomes who you are. This is about becoming. A transformational experience is about you moving from where you were to where you are because you practice it so much that it's now how you think. You think differently, you've become a different person. That's beautiful. I mean, I think for me, that's why I love this work. And it doesn't take decades, right? This process, again, I've combined this with limiting beliefs because oftentimes we believe something that is not true about us, right? That's not PQ. That's some of my other training. I'm also a certified success coach and a transformational facilitator. But when you think about your beliefs, like what you believe, once you shift someone's belief, it changes everything, right? Then you get to continue to work on. So when you combine all these lessons, when you build on the mental fitness that she talked about earlier, and you decide you're going to do something different, it's that combination of those elements on how you actually can resurrect a resolution and truly change your life, truly change everything. So Miss Karima, pray for me as I tell you that I'm going to activate even deeper. Like part of this was me helping other people, right? And we're bringing people into a series that is, we received some funding from both WSMA and from King County as a part of the Gathering Collaborative. And so we've been working with large groups, and then we work with smaller groups, and then we work with individuals. We call that technical assistance. And we're starting our next group session May 6th, and we're going to be working through April 24th. I think we're going to do like another kind of deeper community session as well. But I'm also putting my own personal journey out there. Like I'm saying, if I am transforming, someone who's talked about this and weighed in live on a radio show, right? I've done all the things. If it's now working for me, right? And it's worked for 1 million people, right? Then I think we can all agree that when science is combined with true spirit, we actually have a recipe that cannot fail.
Absolutely. For a long time, the sort of the thinking was that our brains stopped growing after childhood. And now the neuroscience shows us, and Shirzad Chamine did some of the tests, and you can actually see that you can build new pathways, and that's what helps us succeed. So yes, it is possible, absolutely, to change your life, to transform your life, one small step at a time. Absolutely.
I love it. I love it. And I know that was one of the things you wanted to share with people as far as how do they resurrect their resolution? You basically said be clear on what they want to accomplish. I'm just going to pull this up real quick. So we said, why do these resolutions fail? We talked about that, right? Then you said one of the things you wanted to clarify is you wanted to make sure people had a very clear outcome. Like by this time next year, be specific. By this time next year, I'm going to say it. So we're both going to say it, and then we'll come back and we'll keep checking it. By this time next year, I will be at least 50 pounds lighter. At least 50 pounds lighter. And I was I think my highest weight was over 300 pounds. I think I was like 315 was my highest weight. And I weighed in just yesterday at 275. Still heavy.
Congratulations, Tracy.
It's big. It's huge.
Let's celebrate, right? That's the celebration we're talking about.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's huge. But I don't even celebrate. Honestly, I don't necessarily celebrate with the pounds. And saying a big number like that, you're like, damn, really? Yes, I got big bones. No, I'm joking. I got big bones, big booty, all of that. But it's okay. Like I love me, and that was one of the things when I asked Shirzad about what outcome do you want to achieve, and then I started doing this PQ eating. Like I drink very intentionally. I feel the water going down when I chew whatever I'm eating. It's so simple. I literally just enjoy it. It doesn't matter what it is, right? But I fully enjoy it. The textures, the flavors, whatever it is, it's so beautiful. So that's one of the outcomes I want. And I also want my business to have a consistent flow of dollars. I don't want to be the free lady who's always doing everything as it relates to, a nonprofit. Like I've been doing all this work for free. And I'm like, right now I'm working with CEOs, not all. So it's really not true. But I've done a lot. I've spent a lot of my time, right, doing work in community for free, which I think is important to me. And I will continue to do that. But the other thing is I want at least a very consistent flow of clients in my corporate space, which again, I have 30 years in the corporate space. So that's the other thing I want is actual true dollars. So I'm going to have you identify. And for those of you who are watching, continue to work in the chat for us. Tell us what goal would you like to accomplish? Put it out there. And we're going to help you. We're going to talk through it with you. So, Karima, what would you like to accomplish?
Well, as I said, my big goal is to have more time, more meaningful time with my family, and to really enjoy this phase of their life. Get out there, be active, have a more balanced life. And of course, I'm also building my business. So that is the other part of it. So what I was aware of is that I was focusing on one and not the other. So I want very much a lot of balance in my life so that I'm building my business and working in community, working with the youth in my community, and also spending time with family and spending time with my children. Yeah.
I love it. And so you and I, coaches need coaches too. So we've been co-coaching along the way, and we will continue to do that as well. So if I said, hey, you got to be a little bit more specific when you say more time. So if you had to say more time as it relates, are you saying 2 days? Are you saying at least one weekend? So Blaze is saying, I would like to be more organized in my personal and professional life. Tell us more. Come on, Karima, give us some more specifics.
So I guess I would say, what does organized look like? Like what's going on, and what is that desire for organization? So let's get really clear. Is it that, I come into my office and there's papers everywhere? Or is it that I have by accident booked 3 appointments on a regular basis at the same time? Like, is that the organization we're talking about? Or are we talking about some physical organization? So, get really clear that, by this time, next month, I want to have an office where every piece of paper is more or less in the place where it belongs. Right. Or I want to make sure that I have a calendar and a day timer where I'm not double booking or triple booking, as
Right.
whatever it may be, right? So we want to get really clear what we're talking about when we say I want to be more organized.
I love it. Now, you and I are both entrepreneurs, and part of the work that we've been asked to do, and that's why I've been doing a lot of one-on-ones with entrepreneurs, because what I found during the holidays is that they really want their lives to be balanced, right? We can do business planning, but they actually said the reason I got into this whole entrepreneurial thing is because I wanted actually to have more control, and I have less control. So really this concept of self-mastery, experiencing life more fully, is what we've had people actually share with us. That when they do this work, they're experiencing things more fully, even just, eating, connecting with someone. If you're having a one-on-one conversation and it's only 5 minutes that you get with your young people, right? Your children or your loved ones, if you're looking at this individual with more attention, you're pausing. You're not thinking about some other thing, but you're so laser focused. So this concept of positive intelligence and living powerfully also has a very intentionality to it. Tell me a little bit more about that, Karima.
Yes. So, when we are physical beings, and we have senses. So the more we are in our senses, the touch, the feel, the smell, the texture, the taste, that's where we are at our fullest. And so we want to make sure that we are experiencing life in all of its dimensions. So when I'm talking with you, Traci, as we have our meetings, I want to be able to just hear what you have to say and not starting to think about how I'm going to respond to you. Like, that gives you my full attention, so that I'm paying attention and catching all the nuances of what you're saying to me, so that my mind and my attention is just focused on every word that you are speaking. That's that very deliberate part of living. For example, you talked about eating mindfully and, savoring every mouthful and that taste, and how much more joyful that is. And so that's that aspect of being fully present with what we are doing and fully focused on the physical sensations of your body.
Yes, I love it so much. I cannot believe how quickly this hour has gone by. Oh my goodness. So we're going to move forward really quickly. I know you wanted to share this slide as well. So you said basically we're talking about resurrecting your resolution. One of the things I said, well, what is the one thing you want people to do? And this is what you said. Let's talk a little bit about activating.
Yeah. So, when we have a goal, and we talked a little bit about this earlier, where I said, make that step really small. So when I was talking about myself working out, going out in nature, my first step was just to put my shoes on. And so this is it, make that goal, whatever that goal is, break it down to its smallest bits and just take that one step. And on the first day, just commit to it for 1 minute. So, for example, for me, it was just putting my shoes on and opening the front door. That was it. That was my goal for the first day. And I succeeded at that. So I could call it a success and come back again the next day. And then I would do just a little bit more and just build on that every day. That's what I was talking about when I said, just take that one small step towards your goal. Because when we have that big, huge goal, the transformation, it seems huge. And it's hard to sort of relate to it on that first day when I can't even get off from this, down to the sidewalk. I'm just at my door. But if we can just make it really small and just do it one step at a time, that's what builds momentum. And that's what brings us success over the long term.
I love it. And I know you wanted to also add this as well, right? So once you activate, people, the way you resurrect your resolution, I put it in the chat here. Know your why, be clear on your goals, Be very, very, very specific on what you want to accomplish. That consistency is key. And you can say, well, how am I supposed to be consistent? She just told you. Activate just by do one thing. Every day, do one thing towards your goal. And if you can start the day with that one thing and then celebrate, woo! You might do more later on, right? You might actually do more later on. So how do you feel when you've achieved the outcome? And each step is where you celebrate. So talk a little bit about that importance of your brain. This is like building new neural pathways. You're saying, yes, I did that one thing. I activated, and I celebrated. Your brain is like, oh, I like this. I like this.
Yes.
This is
absolutely.
what she really
Your
wants.
brain likes that.
Yeah, this is what she really wants,
it
right?
builds on that.
Yes. It not only does it build on it, it requires it. Like truly resurrecting a resolution says, you know, my pastor said, I go to a church called New Beginnings Christian Fellowship. He actually talked about, he said, do you have a resurrection, like praise on during the crucifixion? Like when you're like, oh, right. In the bad times, are you waiting until something good has happened? Or have you decided that no matter what is happening, this too is going to work out for my good? As entrepreneurs, that was the one thing I was been shocked at. Like, how do I tailor this program so that it's actually going to be something that entrepreneurs can do, will do, and will be consistent, right? Because sometimes the goal, I think the real deeper work that people can do, I'm just responding this time with listening. And what I heard them say is, I need something quick. I need something easy. And so what we said is one thing, and you're going to celebrate. What does your celebration look like? Are you? Oh my God, it's 6:58. Can you believe it's already there? Wait. So this is what you're going to do. We're going to ask you to know your why, be clear on your goals, be specific, be consistent, do one thing, and then celebrate. Karima,
Celebrate.
How do people find you? What's your email?
Karima.Budhwani@gmail.com.
You put it in the chat too. I thank you guys. Thank you so much. We love you. Join us here next week. We're actually going to go deeper. We're going to have a couple of other guests potentially joining us, and we're going to go even deeper next week regarding how you can resurrect your resolutions. Thank you. See you soon.
Thanks, Traci.